What is going on, everybody? My name is Dakota, and welcome back to kotascologne. Today, we're going to be looking at and reviewing Valentino's Uomo Intense. Let's get into it. So I was rearranging my cabinet a little bit today, and I caught this gem just chilling in the back, and something about it just spoke to me. So that is why we're going to be going over to this one today, because this is going to be today's scent of the day. And we are going to start off the way we always like to start off, and that is going to be showing off the atomizer. And the atomizer on this one is absolutely amazing. So it doesn't have a real far burst, but it has a very wide burst. This thing moves a lot of juice in a short period of time. And what you get when this thing first gets in the air is you get a heavy dose of some of that sweet vanilla. It's very creamy, just like the Born in Roma Intense. This is a very creamy vanilla with a little bit of that iris, and you also get some of the softest leather out there. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a couple there on the arm. We're gonna get this one drying down a little bit. But as it gets drying down, we're gonna go ahead and tackle the notes of this real quick. The top notes on this is gonna be mandarin orange and clary sage. Now, as far as top notes go, I don't get any orange out of this whatsoever. I do get some of that sage though. This does have a little bit of a greenness to it. It does have a little bit of a floralness to it, especially off the opening. The middle notes on this are going to be iris and tonka bean. As far as the tonka bean goes, you really don't get much of that until it gets into the deeper parts of the dry down. The iris on this is part of this that will stay from the opening all the way into the dry down. The base notes on this are going to be vanilla and leather. And like I said, that is where this fragrance is going to shine, because the vanilla on this is probably one of the most signature things that Valentino does, especially with their Intense. They did it in Born in Roma Intense, and they did it in this one as well. The vanilla you get on this is such a lifelike, creamy vanilla that just smells so good. And like I said, the leather on this, I'm really not that big of a leather lover, especially in fragrances, but the way they blended this leather is so soft, is so smooth. It's one that it's not subtle, but it hits your senses very subtly. So it's one that it comes across extremely smooth. Like, this is probably one of the most premium leathers that I've smelt in a fragrance. But as this thing gets drying down a little bit more, we're gonna give this a little bit of time. We're gonna go over the price, performance, and the availability. So availability wise, this particular Intense is probably not gonna be in your average retail store. It's definitely easily found online. A lot of the department stores, especially now, are moving toward the Uomo Born in Roma. So the original Uomos are kind of getting phased out just a little bit. As far as price goes, this is a 100 ml bottle. I think you can find these for about a $100 range. The 50 mils seem to be easier to find lately. They're in that $70-ish range. And as far as the performance goes on this, just like every other Valentino, is a performance monster, especially on my skin. I get about 8 or 9 hours out of this. The sillage on this is big. This leaves a nice cloud, especially as you're moving around. And the projection on this is very good as well. It's around that 2 to 3 foot range. So this fragrance is one that 7 or 8 sprays is probably going to last you all day long. And usually a lot of things that I like to do, especially with a fragrance, is I like to do a refresh halfway through the day. This one you can if you want to, if you just want that little extra performance. But as far as scent profile changing, this fragrance stays incredibly linear, especially on my skin, because I know when you first get in the air, you get a lot of that creamy vanilla, you get a lot of that iris, you get a lot of that leather, but it doesn't really change from that. So when this fragrance hits about that 1 to 2 hour mark in the deeper parts of the dry down, it doesn't really change much. You get a little bit of a floral violet, you get a little bit of that iris, you get strong notes of a very soft premium leather, and that's kind of where this fragrance stays. This fragrance is incredibly smooth, it's incredibly natural smelling, and it just tends to work very well. Some of the sweetness that you get on this when it does get all the way into the dry down, that's probably the biggest change, is it gets a little bit sweeter in the dry down. Other than that, everything pretty well stays the same. And honestly, there's not a whole lot about this fragrance that you just don't absolutely love. This fragrance, like I said, some of that lifelike vanilla, a lot of the beautiful leather notes that go into this, everything just wrapped up in this package just works so incredibly well. And this thing is a wintertime monster. So that is when I prefer to wear this one the most, is right now. It's going to be during these cold winter times, because the colder the weather, the more this thing just wants to put in work. This one, just like the Born in Roma, is so natural, so top quality. And a lot of people really tend to love this. This is one of the few ones that I get genuine compliments from. So if I was to give this fragrance a rating right now, honestly, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. And that's coming from someone who doesn't really like heavy leather fragrances. Like I said, the way this thing is done up, one of the things that I love the absolute most about this fragrance is how top quality this fragrance can smell. Now, the only drawback to this fragrance is this fragrance can be extremely heavy. So if you're someone that works in an office, if you're someone that is in a tight, confined space, wear this one very sparingly because this fragrance can be so heavy. It can get a little headachy because you can overspray this fragrance very easily. But nonetheless, if you get your hands on this fragrance, it is probably going to be one that you are absolutely going to love. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of leather fragrances, but just the blend on this, the premium quality that this thing has is just absolutely amazing. Now, one thing that I will bring up is everything I've read on this online, for some reason, this always comes back and gets compared to a lot of the Dior Home line. To me, I can see slight similarities, but I would not compare the two because the way this one is blended, it's not as heavy on the iris. It's a little bit smoother, especially with some of the leathers. It's definitely more smoother with the way they blended in that vanilla. Although I do think that you might be able to compare them a little, I think it would be an unfair comparison because the fragrances smell different enough to where they really shouldn't be compared and fought against each other. Because I know one of the things that I saw, everyone that is a Dior Homme Intense or a Dior Homme Parfum fan, they always come back to this one, and to me, I just think it's an unfair comparison. But like I said, if you're someone who enjoys just rich, creamy vanillas, if you're someone who loves soft, smooth, subtle leathers, and if you're someone who loves soft background notes of iris that just work so incredibly well, this is going to be a fragrance for you. I highly recommend someone scoop up a bottle of this if you have the availability to. And the only reason I might suggest you do it sooner than later is there is rumors that this one may be leaving us soon. I hope that is not the case, but if it is, it's going to be one that everyone's going to miss and it'll be gone too soon. But with that being said, I do think that is going to get us wrapped up. I'm going to go ahead and get in on this bottle one more time. And yeah, so bottle presentation, this thing is very good. I keep my little thing on here, that way I don't spray it. There's no real cap guard or anything on this. And a lot of people confuse this for being the cap. It's actually the atomizer as itself. And bottle presentation, Valentino does their thing. The bottle presentations on these are absolutely gorgeous. A lot of people don't like them. I really enjoy them. But yeah, as far as quality goes, very, very good. Like I said, I like to keep my little cap on there, keep me from spraying it. But that is going to be it. As always, thank you everyone for watching. Thank you everyone for subscribing, for sticking around, staying tuned, listening to me yap about how stuff smells. I truly appreciate it. The channel's growing a little bit. I'm getting more feedback. I'm getting more people in the comments. And it is always fun starting new conversations and just talking to people in comments. So let me know how y'all feel about this fragrance. Let me know if you think it should be discontinued or if you think that it should be sticking around forever. Like me personally, I think this one should stay. But thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.